Greetings programs and welcome back to CK2, and I start this episode with a strange feeling of deja vu, that weird sense that somehow we've been here before, but I'm sure that's nothing. I'm sure it's just a quirk of neurons firing in a specific pattern that just makes me think somehow that we've been back at this date previously. I'm sure it is just all inside my head. So, yes, plans. Well, the immediate plans are we're going to try some assassinations, but actually I have a target in mind aside from the obvious one because, where are we, laws. I'd quite like, at the moment our current Tannist is Count Edgar, who's not maybe the most suitable. Prince Duncan, on the other hand, we quite like the look of him. He's alright. He's not maybe the best candidate available, but he's who I'm voting for, and also he does have a better military score than Edgar does. So what we're going to do is we're going to stage a little plot. We're going to stage a little plot and see if we can't rearrange the succession to better suit our needs. So we're going to have to see if anyone will actually join said plot. And, oh, the answer is no. So actually this might be, having said we're going to have a little plot, much to the glee of Caption Guy, this might be a non-starter because no one else can be invited, and a plot power of less than 40%. That's not going to be firing anytime soon. Okay. New plan. Let's plot to kill somebody else. Let's plot to kill King Randolph of England. And again, that weird sense of deja vu is kicking in, but I'm sure it's nothing. So we have less initial plot power to begin with, but we should be able to actually find some people to join said plot. Now, we do want to be careful about who we actually do invite. We've got, I mean, the Duke of Somerset here is quite a powerful potential plotter, but he's arbitrary, so that might be a problem. But he does bring a fairly hefty whack of plot power, so we'll do that. Oh wait, I just need to left click. No, there we go. Yes, so that's fine. Who else? That's the button I want. I know how to do this, honest. It has been a little gap since the last episode. With the latest patch of CK2, the Jade Dragon update. Well, not the patch that came alongside Jade Dragon. Let's put it that way. 2.8.1, I believe it is. Yeah, that mysteriously made the rolled back versions on Steam stop working properly, or at least it did for me. Because we're back here in version 2.04 before Rajas of India came in, which is why the map cuts off down in this corner rather more than you would see these days. But I discovered the culprit. There is a settings file that the graphics settings in the client and also the checklist on the launcher both use this settings file that's in a shared documents folder, basically. And so what was happening is that CK2 was trying to read this preferences file, and there was something about the update to 2.8.1 with probably some graphics setting somewhere that was then causing version 2.04 to completely freak out, because it was trying to do something that it didn't specifically, explicitly have a graphics option for, and so it was maxing out my GPU to 100%, which CK2 really shouldn't be. It's not exactly a graphically demanding game. So I eventually discovered what the problem was with a bit of poking around, but not before I got to a point of wondering if I maybe wouldn't have to give up the series entirely. So that was slightly unnerving, because the other prospect would be to somehow try and migrate the series to a more up-to-date save, which would be a pretty hard task. That would not be any simple measure at all. It would basically involve transcribing the relevant portions across. I'd be basically trying to recreate the map state and recreate all the dynasties and everything And then, in addition, you'd have all the other stuff that's been added since this version of the game going on over on this side of the map. And you somehow have to integrate all those and make them work together, and probably do other things besides to get them to the old data to work within the framework of all the updates that have come out since then, and all the DLCs that have come out since then. So I think theoretically it's possible, but yeah, it would be a bit of a pain in the backside, to put it mildly. And it certainly would have disrupted things for probably weeks. Probably that long. It probably would have taken that long to get it sorted. So, yeah. I'm glad it didn't come to that. I did actually consider doing that once upon a time, way back when, after Rajas of India came out and basically broke all previous save games. At that point, I considered the feasibility of it, did a little bit of poking around, and then realised quite what a monumental task it would turn into. So, yeah, you might have noticed I'm not inviting all the greens, by the way. I have discovered in my pokings around on the wiki and such like that, despite them having a thumbs up, there's drunkard and arbitrary in particular are the two specific traits you have to watch out for, but also the lower the intrigue score, that doesn't help in terms of plots being revealed either. So there's a very good chance if you invite someone with a low plot power and they have that arbitrary trait or drunkard trait, then they are going to have a very high chance of giving the game away. Right, there's not that many Bishop of St Albans. We can invite you. I'm just sprinkling gifts around like there's no tomorrow at the moment. But money's never been a particular concern. We've always done all right here in Scotland, so we'll make that back soon enough. I've also been pondering trying to increase my crown laws, and maybe even, you know, if we do successfully assassinate the King of England, I could, at that point, you know, maybe declare a war. That's a thought I've had that's not connected with anything that's happened previously in any previous video. No. So yeah, there's going to be a bunch of plot messages coming up. Right, I think the only two greens left are both arbitrary characters. So yeah, I'm doing this manually because in the past I have used the auto-invite plotter things, but yeah, this is the more fiddly way of doing it. It takes longer, but you minimise your chances of failure. So there's no other wavering people that I can actually bribe. Okay, so we can get the plot power to only 81%. It would be nice if we could get it over that. Right, we need a marshal, and we can actually give it to a duke who is even the best candidate for the job, so that's always a nice happy bonus. We'll just have to train troops. I should actually check the state of my vassals just to see who's loyal, who's disloyal. Duke of Moray is not hugely loyal. Grandmother of Dumfries. We don't have any plots going on, do we? No? Don't think so. Yeah, that all seems fine. So the realm seems relatively stable for now. So we'll see if that plot fires off, and if it doesn't, we might be waiting a little while and just building up money, building up some infrastructure. For some reason that panel's hidden itself away. So, yeah, Scotland's looking pretty good right now. And if we can get some movement going on down in England, that would be quite nice. I would really just like to get England out of my backyard at this point, just to remove this as a potential source of threat in the future. And at that point, well, we will still have, I'm hoping, some game time available to turn our attention back towards Scandinavia, but it's starting to look like it's going to be less possible to complete that takeover before the end of the game time. As to whether we can then continue it in EU4, I really hope so. It might take some fiddling around, but there is an official converter DLC which should be able to cope quite easily with a version of the game going this far back. So yeah, that should be okay. And at that point we can continue the Grand Conquest and maybe even take back the Irish realms as well. Although I have been curiously reluctant to just wage in and declare war, but so many of these people are my kin So I don't know, maybe that's a completely misguided sense of loyalty that's held me back from wading into Scotland. So I don't know, maybe I'm just too nice. Maybe I'm just too nice. Maybe I could be less nice. Right, where's this peasant revolt? A Fwasian, I'm guessing that's how you'd say it. Peasant revolt. Well, I'm guessing it's not a Foixian peasant revolt. Yeah, I don't think that really works, grammatically speaking. Right, we could just send our levies. Although I'd rather send an army that I can then stand down and not have to cart them back with the boats, because the boats are expensive. On the other hand, I could just raise some vassal boats. So, vassals, Republic of Dumfries. It's a real shame it doesn't tell you how many boats you're going to get. Right, 176. 176 boats is more than enough boats. And then if I raise the troops of Castle McJedi and say those two as well, we're never going to have any difficulties. Like, I think they're relatively well. How rich are these provinces? Yeah. These are all fairly valuable provinces at this point. In fact, Clydesdale's actually the most valuable, despite being a count vassal underneath the Grand Mayors. For some reason, it is Clydesdale that's ended up being. Yeah. I don't know why. If this was a patrician, maybe it would kind of make sense, but no, for some reason it's just a really, really wealthy county. Anyway, so yeah, that's one of the bigger benefits of having a very well developed vassal, Grand Mayor vassal, or even just a mayor vassal, even just a regular mayor vassal that wasn't a Grand Mayor, that didn't have a duchy title. They would still give you a pretty decent number of boats if they were on a coastline. So it's not just the cash that they bring you, it's the actual ability to project power that you get out of it as well. Right, this is going to be a bit of a journey. Actually speed things up a little bit. We don't care that much about Foix, but we might as well just defend it, because why not? Nope. We're selecting, there we go. Yeah, this has been streamlined so much in more up-to-date versions. Like the very most, I think it's the most recent patch, you now don't even have to, they've refined it even further. You can select somebody to be a court tutor, and by default they will be the one to actually educate anyone. Anyway, wow, she's got some cracking stats. I must have married her into the family at some point. So let's use her as the tutor. Who did she marry? Oh, she was the wife of the just very recently deceased Art McJedi, who died at the age of only 34, which is a pity because he was quite a capable commander. Oh well. I wonder if he passed that on to his sons. At least one of them, yeah. Coleman McJedi. Oh yeah, Coleman again, because I'm tutoring him. We've had some events pop up for Coleman, so he might well turn out to be a capable commander, but he's going to be an even more capable diplomat. Yes, that's why we were keeping an eye on him, because he's a genius. I mean, all the McJedis are geniuses, really. You know, that goes without saying. But some are more genius than others. Let's put it that way. So, I'm going to have to... Oh, there we go. And talking of Coleman McJedi, let's see if we can find him a bride. And it really is his diplomacy skill that's... come out on top there. So somebody who's young enough to give him a good few years of bearing children, because of course we have to have more McJedis. All of the McJedis. And if we can get them as a genius as well. In fact, she's a genius. Her traits are maybe not that good, but if you've got two genius parents, you actually have a pretty good chance of passing on the trait to kids. So let's get them betrothed. We only have to wait 2 years before they can get married. And also, he would... Count of Chalon, he's not that important. He would make a very, very good Chancellor. So actually, I didn't even double check what I had the previous Chancellor doing there. But we could have him fabricate claims in That was the du jour claim, wasn't it? Actually, do we want him to fabricate clothes? I know that I've had this conversation before at some point where Dorjander he's not a spring chicken anymore. So any claims fabricated, any frames that he fabricates, yes, those are both words, would be it's fine. They're not my ships. Well, I mean, they are my ships, but you know, they're not my ships. Yeah, they would go with him basically. I have turned on auto-saving again, by the way, as you might just have noticed there. I just had a strange inkling that if I left auto-saving turned off, you know, I don't know. I had this weird feeling that it might cause problems if there was a crash with the client. Because then I just lose all the progress and I wouldn't even be able to go back to an autosave. I just had this weird feeling that might be an issue. So yeah, I've turned that back on, but it does mean that you'll get these pauses, and it's also going to maybe be a little bit more of a headache in terms of the editing, in terms of dropping frames while it is autosaving. So I might have to do just a tiny bit more work, but you know, I guess it'll be worth the hassle. Anyway, Chancellor Cornwall's doing a superb job. I can either get... Oh, wow, that's a pretty big bump. Feudal Vassal Opinion. Right, Feudal Vassal Opinion would obviously have much more of an effect in terms of I just have more, you know, feudal landed vassals, but I'm always aware of the need to keep the Grand Mayor on side, but in this case now I think we'll go with the quantity option and go with Castle, so we get everybody bumped up in their opinion, because plus 25 is fine. Also, apparently we get a defending versus foreigners bonus because it's a peasant revolt that's... I don't even know. Anyway, Duke Godfrey's no longer the Marshal, so he didn't last very long. Right, so we're going to have to let's pick another Marshal, and it's a much less capable man, but they're still fairly decent. 13's not terrible, and once again set them to train troops. And also apparently we need 3 children lack a guardian. Well, this is going to be a bit of a pain. Okay, right, no. Oh god, I'm so used to because I've been playing Jade Dragon, and you get used to the fact that you can just right click and it's all there, all the bits that you want. And then I go back to the older version and suddenly it's like, wait, no, my reflexes are all wrong all of a sudden. Apart from Deceitful, he's mostly got pretty good traits. Who's this? It's difficult. We're at a stage where it's actually difficult to tell. So we've got Bryce, Girick and Edgar, and it's all just I can't. Who are these people in relation to? I don't know. There's so many McJedis. This is the part where it gets difficult to choose, and the fact that you have the fact that you have a court tutor that just automatically handles this is very, very, very useful. So we'll just palm them off on, I don't know, people that don't totally suck and have lots of terrible traits. Laura, Queen of Scotland, why not? My wife can tutor them, so that's fine. Because she's, you know, these are all relatively unimportant characters, and actually we better find someone else. I think, is it 2 or 3? I can never remember. Back in this version of the game, if you have too many people being tutored by the same person, it causes them to get stressed. Let's pack Bryce off to the Grand Mayor, but because he's not a close relative of mine, then I'm not going to get any opinion bump out of it. Right, that was an annoying little interruption. But yeah, it's weird that we're getting an actual we're getting like the opinion bump you get for being in a foreign war, just on the basis of this uprising being Occitan rebels. Even though it's part of my realm, it still counts as a foreign war, apparently. Right, so it's a combination of me thrashing them and the French forces thrashing them. He's now in my jail, and if he had any cash, he'd be worth banishing, but I think we'll just knock his head off. Costs 20 piety, we can afford that. It'd be great if there was like if that had some consequences, whether you banished or like the main reason why you would banish rather than execute is banishment allows you to keep all their cash if they have cash, which is especially useful if it was like a rebellious wealthy duke or something, and then you can just banish them instead of executing them and get very rich in the process. But yeah, it'd be interesting if there was some kind of long-term consequence to that. So if you did a lot of executions or you banished a lot of people, if you I don't know, if you became known as a cruel person or a merciful person, and it adjusted your traits accordingly, or other people's opinions of you or something. But I mean, if you do execute too many people, I think it kind of does, in that if you get viewed as a tyrannical ruler, then that does actually depress people's opinion of you. It causes a negative modifier. So maybe what I'm saying is kind of already in the game, just not quite as much so as maybe I would like it to be. Anyway, let's have a quick check, see if there's any more people we can invite to the plot who are actually worth inviting. No. Nobody else is on the fence, so it's just sitting there at just over 81%, nearly 82%, which is, yeah, can we, is there something I can do with my spy master? No, I don't think there is, not in this version of the game. No, I don't think there's anything I can do specifically with a spy master to improve my chance of the plot succeeding, especially not a plot in a foreign realm. A man claiming to be a lord who disappeared 7 years ago has found his way to my castle. He sings of the fair queen of Elfland, and some say his songs are prophetic. I can either get the trait kind, which I don't think I want to lose the intrigue value. +2 diplomacy it would be good. 11 would be nicer than 9, but 9 is still okay. So we'll actually just go with he's found his way home, and we'll see what kind of. No, does that not add him to? Where is he? Coron, there we go. Usually it adds them at the bottom of the list, or at least it does nowadays, but for some reason it's stuck him in the middle of the list. And nah, he's not particularly impressive. You know, he's an extra fake Scottish character in the court, but stats wise he's nothing special. I've decided to institute the free investiture law. You know what, we're going to say yes, because free investiture means he gets the disapproval of the church. And if he gets the disapproval of the church, he might get excommunicated. Who knows? And again, I'm having this weird sense of deja vu saying that. So, something about the King of England getting excommunicated seems very familiar to me, as if it's happened not once but actually twice before. But I'm sure that's just a weird, as I said at the start, just a weird trick of the brain. Anyway, he vastly dislikes me, mainly because desires the Duchy of Northumberland and the Duchy of York, and he's ambitious, and there was a previous war declaration, so yeah. So my thought is, you know, if we succeed, and oh, actually we've actually boosted plot power there a lot somehow, and we can maybe get some more people in. Excellent. So he's clearly been taking actions that even just, hang on, which button do I want? And again, this is a thing, you just right click these days. There we go. Mark as character of special interest. So we might get some messages coming up about what's happening down in England. You'd be a very good character to invite the plot. Yeah, it's a slightly clunky interface to do it this way. Yeah, both of these, so that's fine. And I think the magic number is, I seem to remember it's like over 100%. That's when the the plot starts to have a decent chance of actually firing, and it will start. I think this is how it works. That's when the game starts checking whether the plot should fire or not, based on all the people you've invited to the plot and how much plot power you've actually accrued. And then I think the magic number is over 300% plot power to get it to fire very quickly indeed. Right, he'd be a real asset, except he's arbitrary, so we won't actually invite him. He's arbitrary. Yeah, I think this is everybody that we can possibly get, but that should bump it up to maybe even 150%. More? I'm not sure, I wasn't quite paying attention to the actual numbers. Oh, we've also had somebody switch their vote to Duncan. It's a real pity. I mean, I would be loath to have an accident happen to Tanis Edgar, but it pretty much is the only way that you could get to somebody, your preferred person to actually be on the throne. I was just having a very fleeting thought there about increasing taxation maybe, but no, we're actually fine. Right, who's this? Prince Arthael, who's my son. So he's someone we could place with somebody for an opinion bump, essentially. So Duke of Moray. Oh, the Duke of Moray is now a McJedi. That's very nice. Doesn't like me hugely though. Doesn't have hugely good stats, but his traits are actually okay. Duke of Lothian, 16. His stats are okay. Let's place him with him then, and then we get that plus 20 opinion boost. So that's more about getting the opinion boost than finding somebody amazing to be their tutor. My co-conspirator Randolph has hired somebody to saw through the supports of the railing on a balcony. King Randolph. Oh, it's a different Randolph. I was going to say that's a bit. There is, you know, there are various screenshots out there of people who have basically, and I think this was something they did patch out at some point. But yeah, it was possible at some point to plot to assassinate yourself. That you could be invited to be part of a plot to assassinate your character. So, you know, such things are possible. I'm not sure if that was still in the game as a possibility at this stage, at version 204, but yeah, certainly it was at some stage. So yeah, there are screenshots of that around, and it's very, very silly. So let's see if anything comes of this. Oh, I didn't mean to pause it, because it auto unpaused. So what decisions? It's still just hold a grand tournament. Oh, and Coleman can get married. Yeah, I want to actually see her stats. Wait, let's do it this way. What did her stats come out like? Oh, well, she really got good with diplomacy. Intrigue's pretty terrible. But, yeah, no, we'll go with that. If we can get some genius McJedis on the go. Yes. And there's no prestige penalty there, because Coleman's not... I think if Coleman was a direct... Senate, if he was my son, then yeah, that would have a prestige penalty from marrying the daughter of a baron, but that's fine. Oh dear, what a tragic accident, you guys. He fell. Oh, it must have just been some poor construction work. We didn't get discovered. Again, that sense of deja vu. Oh, very strange. Very strange. Anyway, so no excommunications though. Randolph didn't get excommunicated, which somehow feels odd. I couldn't quite place my finger on why. But now we have King Alan, who's only 10, and I'm really hoping we are just seriously destabilizing the English throne. Although, yeah, okay, there are some dukes with negative opinions, including maybe some powerful dukes. There are also some that relatively like him, but there's nobody that absolutely loves him, so we may have caused another civil war in England. Tee-hee. So, what's that done for the line of succession in England? Princess Emma of England is actually next in line. That would be... I don't know, has England had a queen yet? in this playthrough? I'm struggling to think. Scotland's had a couple of queens, but I'm not sure if England's had any queens. I don't know. Anyway, so we could spend a bit of cash, hold the summer fair. It's a bit of flavour really doing it back in this version, but these days it gives you some nice bonuses in that if you have events like that, it increases the prosperity of your county, and so therefore increases the amount of money that your county can make. So let's have a quick look around the place. Let's actually, how are we doing for? Right, we're okay for, we might actually, yeah, that's probably a good one to invest in. Spending cash to get in more cash, so that's a decent investment. We also do want to increase the number of troops we can have, so we'll do that, and then the next thing that we invest in will be something that will give me troops. Right, it's the monkey event, and we'll just, we'll get a temporary trait of compassionate apparently, which is fine. Monthly piety plus 0.1 and 1 diplomacy, so that'll do. My liege, during my stay in Inskall, I have found a great philosopher who has agreed to help me with my studies to enhance culture in the province. With your permission, I would suggest we employ him. How much is it going to cost? 50 cultural tech points, but it slightly puts me in the red for like the rest of this month. But you know what? We'll go for it because 50 culture tech points is not to be sniffed at. So yeah, we're very, very slightly down, but literally, I keep hitting the space bar to unpause when it unpauses automatically, which is not very useful. So there we go, back in the red already, back in the green rather. Yeah, that sounds like kind of thing a colourblind financial advisor might say. Oh yes, well, I'm sad to say that you're in the grey at the moment, but you'll soon be back in the grey. Okay. Anyway, that was I don't even know where I was going with that joke. Does that even qualify as a joke? Probably not. The jester who performed during the summer fair ran around in his silly hat with bells, and before he knew it, he hit me with his bauble. Well, I think I'm too many clicks. I think I'm not particularly, you know, I wouldn't get mad about that. Dorjander wouldn't get mad about that, so we'll just go with it was rather funny, because he's not wroth or anything like that. So there we go, a little prestige bump, but you don't really get much else out of it. Okay, I was thinking, I'm so, like, this is the effect of Tanistry. I'm so disconnected from my immediate family at this point, because immediate family has almost no bearing on who's going to be next on the throne. So yeah, it's like, oh yeah, oh, I have an eldest daughter. Oh yeah, is she? Should I marry her to somebody? Is she already married? But anyway. And de jure war for Gloucester. Okay, well, that was probably going to happen at some point. It's like the last holding of Scotland 2 into England from earlier forays into creating other titles and trying to muscle my way in. Right, anyway, Bishop of Carlisle, who, proud, greedy and gluttonous. He wants to be the court chaplain. He would have good stats, but there's a very high chance he'd probably come up with some, you know, negative, your court chaplain has been caught stealing the communion wafers and eating them all or something. I don't know. I don't think that's an actual event, but yeah, I think we'll go with Bishop of Lindisfarne instead. And again, we'll have him research cultural tech in the Western Isles. And we've got a new Prince Bishop of Paris as well. Okay. Giric McJedi is now of legal age. We'll see if we can marry them to somebody and just spread more McJedis around. More McJedis. All of the McJedis. Macduff. I could marry him to a Macduff. She's actually got decent stats. His main decent stat is Marshal, though. We sort by Marshal. She's got a very good Marshal. 25, that's not too old. We're less concerned. Well, we'll give it a go. Her other stats are actually pretty decent as well. So, Marquisa, who's a courtier of the Knights Hospitalier. 25's 25's practically past the hill. Past the hill? Yeah, over the hill even. But there's a chance they'll have some kids yet. So, yeah, we'll give that a go. And if they don't have any kids, it's not a huge loss. Well, we've been recording now for... I'm actually... This is one of those occasions when I'm recording against the clock. So, rather than just see how far I go with this episode, we're pretty much going to have to wrap things up here. Just literally, as a thing pops up. Who wants to assassinate who? Duncan wants to assassinate... Oh, Duncan wants to assassinate Edgar. I will grant him a claim on the perpetrator's titles. Edgar is Count of Dijon. Duncan is Count of Chalon. This really works out. This really works out. I will grant him a claim on the... Oh, no, wait, it's Edgar... Wait, it's Edgar trying to assassinate Duncan. Well, this is... Okay, no, sorry, my brain was not processing that at all. I will grant him a claim on the perpetrator's titles. There we go. So, okay. It's Edgar that's trying to do the dirty on Duncan. I would never stoop so low, of course, as to assassinate people or, you know, meddle with the affairs of other nations through such methods. No. Anyway, so, yeah, okay, that doesn't look like it's going to spark off anything particularly, you know, worth continuing for another 20 minutes with on the recording. Anyway, that was an excellently constructed sentence. So let's wrap things up there then. And, yeah, I can only really apologise it's just taken this long, but I really was scratching my head about trying to figure out why version 204 was just not running properly. But in the end, it was me even having a thought related to World of Tanks, because that uses a shared preferences text file as well, an INI file. So, yeah, I then had the brainwave of maybe CK2 is doing the same thing. So hopefully you've enjoyed this episode, and if you have, you can leave any comments below. You can hit the like button. You can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.